Sublime magnificence.
Hey guys, you know who it is, what's going on, when it's happening, where it's at, and why we're here today. How you doing? It is I, the sublimely magnificent Big Ugly himself, Omari Ellis Feo Grande on YouTube, back with another episode of This Guy Hasn't Seen. And as usual, I'm joined by my friend and co-host, one of my best friends in the world, El Director himself, Bill Smith.
Hey Omari, thank you so much for having me back. It's always a good time when I'm here. Get yourself a movie club, share movies with each other, share art. It's so hard to find something new to watch, particularly the old stuff. And there's so much stuff behind us. Just in the last 10 years, they produced so much stuff. So much stuff is out there. You haven't seen so much stuff. This would be a good way for you to start seeing some of that stuff. So that's what we did again this week. Is last week we were doing Gladiator.
That is correct.
With Russell Crowe and Ridley Scott. So I thought it would be fun to steal your turn real quick and do another one of Ridley Scott at the beginning of his directorial career. Some may argue one of his best films in the Ridley Scott fans. We don't want to get don't want to soil or prejudge your opinion or prestate mine at all. Just this is a commonly known classic and not even an Omari classic kind of thing.
Oh yeah, it's a classic
on IMDb. Lived in the high 90s of the AFI 100 film ranking. This week we are watching Blade Runner from 1982. A Blade Runner must pursue and terminate 4 replicants who stole a ship in space and have returned to Earth to find their creator. It is directed by Ridley Scott, and it stars Harrison Ford, Rutger Hauer, Sean Young, Daryl Hannah, Omari. This one is one of those sci-fi classics. One could argue a direct inspiration for some of the anime you've possibly watched. Why never check it out?
Oh yeah. So why I hadn't seen it is while it is associated with that and everything, I don't know, something about a lot of it got mixed up in all the other 80s classics that we've like gone over, where it's like, oh, I should probably check that out and just never do. Blade Runner, I like sci-fi stuff. I can't say I don't like the genre, but it's not necessarily ooh, this is sci-fi, I'm gonna watch this. It's not a must-watch genre for me. And as such, it kind of got on the like back burner and stayed on said back burner. Just, okay, Blade Runner 2099 or whatever it is came out a few years ago, and that brought it back to the forefront of my memory, but life didn't, and I need to watch the first movie before I watch the second because I'm weird like that. So I didn't. And then as to what I was expecting cyberpunk shit. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, it's got Harrison Ford in it. It's called Blade Runner, and I don't read the synopses. So he's got to be like another fugitive from the law, probably trying to escape these cyberpunk police. He's on the run. He's the Blade Runner. I don't fucking know. Something along those lines.
Oh, yeah. Did you know you knew Harrison Ford?
I knew Harrison Ford. Because I think wasn't he in the recent one too?
Yes.
Yeah. So I knew he was in a recent one too, and I knew people had brought it up about like his old movies and stuff. And I think that's another reason why I never got around to watching this, because like I said, as another fugitive from the law, I haven't seen The Fugitive either. So I probably mixed the two in my head as far as what I expected out of both movies. Except The Fugitive I knew wasn't cyberpunk. Pretty much, yeah. I think I just mixed the two in my head and just ended up not watching either. But yeah, so getting in
before you get into your initial reactions, I think I have to make a statement.
All right.
I may have messed up a little bit. I didn't think about this until it was way too late. The film community out there would have probably preferred us to watch the director's cut or the final cut. There are 3 versions of this film.
All right.
The theatrical release, the director's cut, and then what's called the final cut, which is kind of a director's cut plus a couple things and a few things tightened a little bit, you know. I think most people are pretty evenly divided between those two, and would say to watch one of those other than this one, because the largest difference between those two and this one is the main character narration. It virtually does not exist in the other credits. Ridley Scott did not want to use it. It was a studio forced item. There's even talks that Ridley and Harrison cooperated together to submit a terrible performance on the narration side in the idea of, well, now they definitely can't use it.
Yeah.
And then it
made it in anyway.
And then it goes into the film. Some would argue that that's still their favorite version of the film. I know those folks are out there, and even with that version of the film, it was still rated very high. But I think if I had thought about it harder, I probably would have forced us into the director's cut or the final cut, because it's also not that much longer. Like, it's mostly it's a few extensions, a few more expositions of world building and such, but mostly it's just the removal of that narration.
Okay, I can see that. Yeah, that was something that seemed jarring is the first word that comes to head, but maybe a little too strong of a word. But
well, yeah, because we're not used to it. I mean, that's a very oldie film. I mean, because this film is building on the themes of a classic detective noir film.
Yeah,
and so that narration used to always be there.
The fact that there was narration wasn't the problem for me, or the jarring aspect of it, if you will. It was, like you said, Harrison Ford's performance of said narration. That's where it would take me out. Like, the fact that it was there, I watch a lot of movies that have had narration and shit in them. So it's one of those things where I'm like, I get why this is a P for people, but I'm desensitized to narration as a storytelling device. So, but it was just Harrison Ford. I was just like, did he even try for this narration? You know, that's what I was thinking. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. When you say it like that, I'm like, I could see that if that is the argument trying to be made.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's prevalent in our TV and stuff, but it's virtually non-existent in our film anymore. And it used to be like,
yeah,
like
because
every
people
detective film,
because it started to be like a very big taboo, like, oh, narration. Like, calm down. Show, don't tell. I'm like, okay, sometimes I want you to tell me. What if I don't get it? What if I don't see
Yeah.
everything?
Yeah, I've expressed on here sometimes that I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
Sometimes I need it. Like sometimes I catch the deep things and the little nuances and stuff. Sometimes I need it screamed at me. It all depends on the headspace that I'm in.
Yeah. So I like all storytelling mediums, but the first thing that I saw was the 80s computer ass tree logo for the production company at the beginning with the green lines the green line separated, like this 80s computer ass tree logo. And then the next thing that made me laugh immediately was like the year 2019. I'm like, man, we love overestimating how far we're gonna go with technology and how fast. That's just what we do as a species. But yeah,
I mean, a lot of stuff he is like this film is known for giving us a different view of the future. The future before this film was always the other end of the spectrum, where humanity got their shit together and everything was like neutral tones and really clean, and we were all just wearing like beige plastic jumpsuits and
this one's the dystopia aspect.
And this is kind of the first film to do those things, popularize it. Like when you look at the city covered in TV billboards and advertisements and stuff, that's all kind of prophetic to how 2019 would have looked. You get the and we're making some weird robots, man. We're making some weird robots right now. We're still not at this level.
Robots ain't nowhere near the level that they thought they would be. The flying cars, which
we still don't have the flying car. How do we not have the flying car yet?
I'm still happy we don't. And I'll tell you why. Because car accidents. The car's got to land somewhere. Yeah. And with how often car accidents are on the ground, you in the air just... Now I got to worry about a car falling on me as I walk to the store.
As you're sitting there right now, a car just comes through your wall.
Also true. So that's the one reason I'm happy we don't have flying cars.
No, I never thought about that. Now I'm terrified of flying cars. Yeah, because I'm terrified of normal cars. I drive every day and I hate everybody for it. Because I'm terrified the entire time.
That's fair.
So yeah, now I'm just realizing, let's stay away from maybe the government has been shutting down flying cars because they know that, like they have the raw data that's like it would be catastrophic. It would be catastrophic. We can't do flying cars.
If we do
so
flying
every time
cars,
there's a new patent, they just suppress it.
Only way we do flying cars is if we put a ceiling on society for them to fly over.
We're gonna dome society for flying cars.
But you know what I mean?
You have to exit the dome to get in your flying car and then fly somewhere else.
Or no, you take
that's outside of the dome.
You like take the car.
It's a bunch of little domes. Are you flying from dome to dome?
So I'm just saying, you got to put something over the buildings and the people for the cars to land on. Like they could be on land if they're down on the ground level, but they take highway, but not. Yeah. But they take little exit ramps that they can then fly into over things and then come back down. Problem with the ceiling on top of people, no sunlight.
What if the driver has no control? What if it's just an automated like line system?
Aren't we trying that now and still getting accidents?
Well, yeah, but you got to obey the road, and you got to involve all of the crazy shit going on in the
Fair
road.
enough,
There's a
but
lot
you're
less
saying-
crazy shit in the sky.
That'd probably be the only way to do it. Or just sky pathways or some shit. But then, again,
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I don't think I like it.
the regulatory methods behind it is too much of a fucking hassle. So I could see them just being like, "Hey, someone's getting ready to shut this shit down."
Shut that shit down. Pay them $1 billion and move them to France. Like,
Give them a nap.
or yeah, or
give them a nap or some other way to make a lot of money. But just give them credit for that. But
oh, give them an app. I thought you said give them a nap, and I was like, oh yeah, they could. That could happen too. That could happen
with
too.
the fishes.
That's a new way to say it. I haven't heard that way, but yeah, let's give them a nap. What were we talking about? We're here to talk about Blade Runner.
Jesus. But yeah, no, going off into the future. So yeah, it was relevant.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Piggybacking on that, that's my initial reaction every time I watch this film is just like the world building of it all. Yeah, I'm not gonna mince words about it. Like, I know this thing is critically blah 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 boom ba 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 ba. It's got all of this, it's got all of that. For some reason, it just never. It's just not my movie. It's just not my movie. It's beloved, well rated, on the AFI list. I love the end. The end is pretty good. When it's a little bit more of an action movie, and not to say I'm just like an action person, but I don't know. I don't. But like, I am a sucker for world building, and like this thing has a lot of it, and I enjoy the snippets that we get, and I like the stuff that we're not directly told, that you just kind of see from watching it, like all of the humongous advertisements, and that there are really only like 3 companies that are advertising, but for some reason Harrison Ford's character has a printed old school newspaper that he's reading as we see him for the first time. I'm thrown back by that at the beginning. I'm like, what? In all of this, he still has but I guess 2019 we still had newspapers,
and we still have printed newspapers.
Newspaper.
Yeah. But yeah, the robots that are that lifelike, where you need a Bechdel test or whatever to determine their humanity. And
that test in itself is weird. It's a weird test.
But yeah, he's doing the interview in the opening. I'm like, well, this dude's definitely gonna be a robot.
Yeah.
There's no reason we're taking this test for him to be a normal human being. He's gonna be a robot. Which kind of leads to the first step of, let me tell you about my mother. Like, damn. All right. And you mentioned we see Harrison Ford with the newspaper, and the cops come up to him and talking to him. I'm like, and there you have it. There he is. He's a criminal. He's a fugitive from the law. So I got that right, at least. Immediately, no, he's not a fugitive from the law. He is the law. Oh, and then I make another thing, because they cut to the dude with them, not Bryant. Fucking Gaff.
His
Gaff?
driver.
Is it Gaff?
Yeah.
Gaff doing
Yeah,
the
Gaff.
origami shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, this origami nigga's evil. Because usually when you see origami left as like a calling card or as I have been here, it's always by the villain in something. It's like, ooh, fucking Heavy Rain, the origami killer. Like, there's just, I'm like, oh, and he's literally and they're going out of their way to be like, this man loves origami figures.
Yeah, he gives off creep vibes the whole movie.
Yeah, so I'm just like, oh,
it's Edward James Olmos.
Okay, yeah. I'm like, all right, I see you. And then they're doing the test about Rachel and stuff like that. He's like, I want to see you do it on someone that'll definitely be a negative before you tell me a positive. Yes, or a positive before you tell me a negative type deal. You know what I mean? And as he's doing it, the test keeps going, and she seems realistic enough. But then the test kept going, and I'm like, oh, she's definitely a robot. Again, you're focusing on this too much. That's going to be the point this guy's trying to make, is he's made realistic robots. And she leaves, and almost immediately, she's a replicant, ain't she? I'm like, okay, it's not meant to be a secret.
It was a secret to her.
It was.
Yeah. Turns out she is so that's Sean Young, playing Rachel, and yes, turns out that she's just a big experiment by the corporation to see, like, all right, well, what if we did give them a longer lifespan? What if we did give them easier access to the things we call emotions and memories? Even though our other replicants, just like Rutger Hauer, he has memories, but he had to struggle to like evolve to get them. Rachel had an open door. The
other robots needed photos to remember things. She had memories from the get-go, but they were implanted as well.
Yeah, they were artificial.
And then they're like, also the other robots are like, because they can't remember things if it's not photographed or something, which he kind of touches on at the end. He's like, a lot of the stuff I've seen, no one's ever going to fucking know about because of what's happening. Which we'll touch on in a minute. But when we first meet our main villain, Roy, speaking of giving off vibes of just, okay, yeah, you're someone to look out for. This guy, and I feel like this motherfucker plays that role or something similar in all the shit he's in.
Rutger Hauer, he's he gives off vibes.
He gives off vibes.
He gives off specific vibes.
Picture quote on screen. He gives off vibes. But it's true though.
This is like peak. This is peak Rutger Hauer doing Rutger Hauer. On top of constantly dripping. Like, my dude is constantly wet. I don't know if that's a thing like that. Maybe that's a thing that happens to replicants at the end of their, because he is his journey is he is at the very end of all of the replicants have a safeguard measure in case they get out of hand, which is they have a very short lifespan of 4 years. And I think we're to be told that this whole crew of 4 that came are all nearing their end, but I think Rutger Hauer
is the closest.
He's getting super close, and maybe that's just a side effect because it's not always raining. But yeah, he is just constantly just like dripping. There's some scenes where it's literally dripping from the tip of his nose, and it's not raining. He's not outside until the end. Um, but yeah, he is the most interesting part of this movie. Um,
And you can tell just by looking at him because he's got vibes.
yeah.
But yeah, oh, and what was it? But my thinking cap, if you will, was on a bit too tight early on because when Harrison tells Rachel that she's a robot and stuff, or Deckard tells her that she's a robot, she's like tripping, and then she's like, "Well, have you ever taken that test yourself?" And I'm like, "Oh, he's probably a fucking robot too and doesn't know it. He's probably an experiment too." And so it started going into my head like, "Oh yeah, he's an experiment too." But then I was like, "Wait, this is still the '80s." And I don't know how mindfucky they want to get with this movie, or that they even needed to at that time with those kind of old movies.
I believe until 2049 came out, I believe it was a hotly debated topic to that day
About whether he was also a replicant.
About whether he's a replicant. And then I have not seen 2049, but I have been spoiled on some stuff. And, we know Harrison Ford appears in it as an old man, not as a robot. And Sean Young also lives to that point of Harrison Ford being an old man. They digitally recreate a young Sean Young for her cameo in Blade Runner 2049. So yeah, I believe the answer is very clear that he is not a replicant. But it was a very debated topic.
Yeah.
I think it's literally just because of that one line. Like there's not, and then people would like clamor for evidence beyond that.
Yeah,
like, no, this is what Ridley Scott was trying to tell you.
Yeah, like what if he took it? Yeah, I see crazy theories like that with all kinds of stuff, but I can definitely see that coming from this movie. There was one point where I was like, one line they said, and my head went to fucking the idea that this was going to end with it all just being some kind of simulation. That's when I was like, no, I don't think they're going that mindfucky with it. But anyway, eventually he starts Harrison Ford gets the case to deal with these 4 replicants because they want to take down, or we think they want to take down the company that makes replicants. We're later eventually just straight up told that is indeed what they want to do, and we keep cutting into and out of their side quests throughout the movie, including Pris, who comes across the guy J.K. Simmons, or no, not J.K. Simmons.
Yeah,
JF.
Yeah. She comes across the nerd dude.
Yeah, JF Sebastian.
JF sounds
JF
right,
Sebastian. And they make sure to keep saying JF Sebastian throughout the movie or whatever. So yeah, not J.K. Simmons, JF Sebastian. Anyway, they do come up to him, and it's pretty and early on, like the second he sees the girl outside and she's like, "My name's Pris." He's like, "Oh, I'm JF Sebastian." I'm like, "Oh, he's dying." I thought he was gonna die then, but no, they played the long game with him because they were busy going around, because Harrison Ford was putting together who these guys were after while they were trying to get closer to the company. They've come across an Asian man making eyes, and that's an awkward scene.
I had to note the torture scene with with James Hong, who is a legend in fucking everything. He's been working since he was a young man. And he is, I believe, crossed over his century mark last year or a couple of years ago, and is still around. So yeah, James Hong, legend. But yeah, that scene is gruesome. It's rough because he's just so. It's so like the power dynamic is off the charts on the scales difference. It's so it makes it very uncomfortable. Like any of those just slow burn, scary guy talking to what seems like an innocent, like this is just a scientist doing some ice research. And also a crazy thing that in 1982 James Hong is playing an old man, and and then in what was it, 2022 he played the grandfather in Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Oh, that's him?
Yeah, there you go.
Oh my goodness. That's crazy.
Yeah,
That's awesome though.
as the old man. So yeah, what is that? 40 years of playing the old man.
Well, you did say he reached the century mark, so yeah, 60 and onwards.
Yep. So yeah, major props to James Hong.
Yeah, but they're doing that, and eventually we also have Harrison Ford following his leads. He finds like a snake scale in an apartment.
How are you feeling about Harrison Ford?
Like his performance?
Yeah. Han Solo.
If I take the
Indiana Jones.
If I take the voiceover out of it, I like it more. But that's also because I come to expect a certain thing from Harrison Ford. I don't know how to describe what I expect from it, but it's what I get. He's like standard for it to me in this, so I wasn't bothered enough by anything but the voiceover narration. And I was like, well, I guess that might just be how Harrison Ford is talking, I guess. Because I'm thinking of like, well, what do you want him to sound like? I'm out here like, for lack of a better term, gaslighting myself. Just,
right.
What do you want out of him in his fucking narration? How do you talk to yourself? Do you get all like broody with it? Oh, down. No, you don't. You just fucking talk. And so
you just fucking talk.
So I'm like, so when you said earlier that there are people who said that, I'm like, okay, that was not.
Yeah, I mean, because we especially know in his later years that Harrison Ford is not. He is not afraid to just collect a paycheck.
He is not.
He is not afraid. Like there are other rumors that that his appearance in Blade Runner 2049, he showed up and would not wear their costumes. And so they just wrote in his cargo pants and t-shirt that he wore to set that day. He wouldn't even. He was like, "All right, I'm ready. This is where we're filming." So yeah, but he also is somebody who will put 120% into a project. So it's really curious where he decides to lean on things. Like I don't know. For me personally, I feel like this is one where even in the on-camera work, I'm not I don't know. I'm not loving it. I'm not loving it. It's not. I feel like he loves being Indiana Jones. I think in the first, I think he loves being Han Solo in Star Wars and in The Empire Strikes Back. I think there are several other films that I've seen him in, and including this new the two new shows that he's been on streaming networks, where he seems to be really enjoying himself and putting in some interesting time. I think this is where this movie comes down for me on this is that Harrison Ford is bringing it down for me. I'm not like I am most interested when Rutger Hauer is on screen.
Okay.
And
Yeah, like I said, I wasn't like offended by Harrison Ford or anything in this movie, but like I said, it wasn't anything to write home about either. It was just probably because of, like you said, what his reputation perceives him and all that stuff. That's probably why I just expect a certain level out of Harrison Ford. I just expect to be entertained by the role. He's gonna be a cool guy, say and do some cool things. He's Harrison Ford. But
yep. Yeah. I just I think I don't know, because I'm just a guy struggling to figure out why I've never liked this classically loved film.
hmm.
And I'm just I'm wondering if it's the Harrison Ford of it all. He doesn't jump off the screen to me in this like he does when he's Indiana Jones, when he's Han Solo, when he's the fugitive. So I know at one point they were going to make this film with Dustin Hoffman as the Rick Deckard part. Very interesting. I can't tell you it would have been a better movie. I don't know. I can't tell you it would have been a worse movie. It would have been a different movie. I feel like Dustin would have made some choices rather than just kind of go the like. I think Harrison is saying, I'm gonna do the brooding. We're doing a noir film. I'm gonna do the brooding detective.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Like I am I am least interested when we have these quiet moments of him obsessively drinking alone in his apartment. Like
I'll agree with
I'm
that.
checked out in those scenes.
I'll agree with that. I also could have dealt without the awkward romance scene.
Yeah, I had to make a note of that. Like that was rough.
Yeah, I put this is uncomfortable.
That was
It
very
started off
aggressive.
fine.
And
It started off fine with the piano and everything, and then
he very much forced himself upon her. And we're in a different age in the 80s where our male movie stars were allowed to do these things, and it was considered romantic by the general public. And I don't know if any movie would be as stupid to perform the same
now.
scene. Yeah, I don't care if it's Ryan Gosling or Ryan Reynolds or Chris Evans or whatever like beefcake hunk star you have of the day. That scene ain't getting made. That gets uncomfortable. I don't. And then you add on the other layer that she's a robot just discovering her humanity and figuring all of that shit out.
Now you say this. Tell me to do
literally like how somebody was able to write that in a script, and then they were able to rehearse that, and then they were able to film that and edit that and send it out, and nobody was like, hey guys, aren't we sending up some red flags here? Isn't he literally telling her to repeat after him?
He slammed the door in her face.
Yeah, shoved her up against a wall. It's in 1982 that was romantic, Omari.
Before my time.
Just at your time. That might have been how you got made.
No. I was born after 82. That's probably when things started to change. They saw that movie and they were like, you know what? This is how we're doing things. Let's change things around.
No, this movie was loved, wasn't
it? Anyway, so yeah, he's putting together clues and stuff, though. He finds the performer. I assumed she was human.
Okay, no, here's my favorite part of Harrison Ford. I just checked my notes and we passed something chronologically in the movie, so I wanted to jump in real quick. When he's doing the nasally voiced inspector guy, that That's my favorite scene of Harrison Ford in this film.
When he gets into the scene where he's talking to the performer. Hi, yes, I'm
who ends up being the first replicant on his list.
But when he shot her, like I saw her attack and I understood why he shot her, assuming she was a replicant. I assumed she was human to tie into Rachel's question from early in the movie. Have you ever accidentally killed a human? Huh? You ever thought a replicant was a human, or human was a replicant? And he's like, nah, I'm good at my job, or whatever he said. And so I thought that
he's not on that end of the job. He's not. That's the interesting. I mean, that is the one interesting thing about the character is he's kind of a bumbling fool when it comes to the physical aspect of being a detective. Like he's a good detective.
But when it comes to the action part,
we can't go this entire episode and ignore the zoom in enhance scene of all zoom in enhance scenes. That motherfucker goes 7 layers deep into that photo.
Move to the right, go up right by
that
45.
Mirror, go inside that mirror.
Okay, zoom out, go to the left.
Create new imagery that wasn't there before.
Imagery behind the mirror to see, like we see someone's hand. Okay, go to the hand. Now zoom out, zoom in and out. Okay, now I know who was behind the mirror over here.
Oh my god, yeah, that is the zoom in enhance scene of all zoom in enhance scenes possibly.
That is the zoom in enhance trope.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how he finds her. And yeah, he kills her, and because he killed her in slow motion and shit. That's why I really thought it might be a human, and he was about to fuck up. Because I was also because it's still relatively early in the movie, and I'm still somewhat on my he ends up a fugitive from the law type deal. So I'm like, oh, he just fucked up and killed a regular person, and she ran because he was being a creeper in her fucking room. But nope, it was a Reploid, and then Leon sees him. He just goes up, how old am I? He cracks me up, but because he was like talking like I die in 2 years, and then he's like, wake up, time to die, before Rachel shoots him, and I was just like, this guy's funny because he just had like simple line delivery. Like his lines were simple, but the way that he like said it, since he's a robot, it just made it funnier to me.
Yeah. I have another note. They run directly into people in this movie. Directly into people. And it's all, I saw it so much that I had to just make a note of it. Of like Harrison Ford, the people he's chasing. Yeah, there's a crowd of people. There's like 7 people, and you run directly. You charge directly into the center of a dude, and then you'll move, and then Harrison Ford will immediately run directly into. There's another part in the chase scene where he stops, and I guess maybe there was a take where he was going a little bit, where his momentum was taking him a little bit farther, or into this car where these 3 guys are huddled near chatting, and this time he just kind of skids to a halt right before them, and then just shoves the dude right in front of him. And it's on film. So yeah, I thought that was funny. Like everybody is just, I think it was like a director's note to try and make the crowd seem larger, but actually they're just like, there's plenty of gaps. You could be running, but everybody is just doing a beeline,
shortest distance, straight line,
and it's right through the heart of multiple people.
It's hilarious. But yeah, fast forward a bit, eventually, J. Jonah Jameson is with the other robots. and he anyway, they convince him to take him to the creator of the company and everything.
Daryl Hannah is weird. The character in this film, and I'm gonna go ahead and say it, the actress herself. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of these things were choices by her. I don't know. I'm just talking shit now. Yeah, it's God. Her character is fucking weird, man. Fucking weird. And then the outfit choice, like she just woke up and decided, like, I'm gonna look like this today.
You're not wrong, though. You are not wrong. And yeah, very weird. But yeah, eventually Roy comes across the creator of the company and he's like, fucking fix the death thing. I can't. What if you do this? We tried it already. We can't. Well, you can do this and it makes it worse. You can do this. It makes it worse. All right, well, I'm murdering you. Wait, what? Which, I mean, at that point, you just came and told this clearly dying robot he's got nothing to live for, despite you being the guy that created him and stuff. Yep. And so, like he said, what easier passes to heaven than to be forgiven by your own God? Fuck you. First off, can't do this to nobody else. And then by the time he gets back, Harrison Ford is going up against Daryl Hannah's character, right? Because that's what you're talking about, Pris.
Yeah. Harrison Ford dispatches Daryl Hannah's character just before
the fucking screaming as she died. My God. And then, speaking of just making loud noises, you get Roy versus Deckard, and all the time Roy's chasing him, he's like howling and shit and counting and shit. But what cracked me up is, and I know this came out a decade before it, but it just reminded me of Batman Returns. Like, he's like counting, he's like 4, 5, and I'm gonna be like, still alive! How to stay alive? and I'm like, I know that reminds me of Batman Returns, but I get, it's just he's trying to say something else. And then later he goes 6, 7. Like, all good girls go to heaven. So and so to get to heaven, or do you go to hell, or go to hell, or go to heaven? And I'm like, okay, now I have to make note of this. Like, this is probably half referenced in Batman Returns during that part.
Yep.
But because it was a nice little creepy scene of him like chasing Harrison Ford, and when he broke motherfucker's hand,
it gets a little horror-y.
This is for so and so, and this is for Pris.
And then gives him the gun. Puts the gun back in his hand, puts the finger back on the trigger for him, and then pushes it back through the wall. Like, that's some gangster shit.
Like, all right, you can fight me now, but you gotta aim true with broken fingers.
Yeah.
I thought you were good.
Oh, you shot straight. Guess I can still move. Guess shooting straight won't be good enough. Do something else now.
Chases him to the fucking roof, and I'm like, who doesn't enjoy a good fight scene on the roof at night? There's lots of potential with a fight scene on the roof. Wouldn't you agree? Yeah. Still, man, that oversight. That oversight. Anyway, but yeah, who doesn't enjoy a good fight scene on the roof?
My eyeballs saw you guys fine. I didn't understand how it wasn't gonna work.
Same.
I was like, I don't know. I can see you fine. And then I lift this up, and it's just darkness. Inside joke. You gotta know. If you know, you know.
Yep.
Watch whatever we want.
Yeah, it's on one of the episodes. It's also mentioned on this channel in my Fayo Fantasy thing, one of the early things. But yeah, anyway, that's all I thought of when I saw a fight scene on the roof. I'm like, oh, this takes me back. Anyway, cool fight scene cool enough fight scene on the roof. Well, altogether. Not much of a fight, though.
Leading up to, I mean, what has to be up there is one of the greatest exit lines of all time.
Yes. I love that one.
Like that's I don't know. Do you want to?
Well, while you look up,
do you want to give it a try? I just put it in the chat.
Oh God. Let me see. I won't try to do it just like him because I'm not the best impersonator. However,
I love this. This could be a new segment.
To replace our "What role would you like to play?" It's like now prove it, good sir. All right. So, oh God. Yay, editing. And cut out all the nervous, the pressure. But only one take nonetheless. Anyway, good win or lose. I've seen things you people wouldn't believe. Attack ships, fire off the shoulder of Orion. I've watched sea beams glitter in the dark near the Tannhauser Gate. All those moments will be lost in time, like tears in the rain. Time to die. And
I just sat there like a dumbass and watched him die.
Pretty much.
The narration comes in there and just absolutely kills the moment. Because you haven't had it for a minute.
Yeah.
At that point, and all of a sudden it's like, oh fuck.
And that's when the robot died, and I didn't really know what to do. But
yep, that's me just sitting there while that robot dies, thinking about that robot dying.
Having that.
Wonder why he saved me.
Oh, but no, I loved that part, and I loved the way he went out like that, and I like the line, "Time to die."
Yeah.
And then and then they bring back the narration, and then he like quickly like goes back, or Gaff is like, "Shame she had to die, but eventually everybody does." And I'm like, oh, did they kill her while he was gone? And he goes home, and they definitely try to play up the angle that she's been murdered already. But she's fine. And as they're leaving, we see a piece of origami, and I take it entirely the wrong way. I'm like, and there it is. This motherfucker is going to pick up that origami. He's going to turn around, and her head is going to be blasted off. Yeah. And then his head's going to be blasted off, too. And he's just going to put the fucking origami back on him or some shit. But no, it was actually a sign of, I got you, fam.
Yeah.
I let her live.
I knew everything, and I was cool about it.
Yeah. And I'm like, that's a good subversion of what I thought was going to happen. Because I definitely thought he and her were about to die. But then I'm like, wait, no, there's Blade Runner 2099. That's not going to be the case.
2049.
Yes. That.
Which I, again, haven't seen it, but I do think his involvement is minimal. Fair. It is a Ryan Reynolds film, or not Ryan Reynolds, Ryan Gosling.
Ryan Reynolds was
too many Chris's, too many Ryans.
I agree. Too many of them.
Not enough Bills, not enough Omaris.
There aren't a lot of us, but more than you think. That's what I've learned throughout my life.
Yeah.
Yeah, so anything else you want to touch on from the film?
I mean, I kind of already preloaded my final thoughts. They didn't change, if I'm honest with you.
Yeah.
Rutger Hauer is awesome in this film. Otherwise it's like I can see why this is the thing that it is, but also it just doesn't slap for me. Bored with it isn't the right phrasing. Like, I'm not bored with it, but it's just, I don't know. I'm just not. It's just okay.
Yeah. I enjoyed it, but at the end of the day, it's kind of like that. If I were to rewatch, it'd be more just trying to watch moments. Like, oh, I want to see let me see fucking Harrison Ford versus it. Or, dude, did you remember the fucking screaming? Listen to this shit. That's fucking ridiculous. The fuck is that?
Yeah, it's a crazy death moment. It's in like top 10 deaths.
So it'd be more like cherry picking moments from it. But yeah, I don't need to see it in full anytime soon. Again, nothing against it. Somebody go over to their house and they got it on. I'm like, cool, Blade Runner, but I get why it was influential for the time it was, but I also get why A New Hope was influential for the time it was. I like Blade Runner more than I like A New Hope because I could stay awake for all of Blade Runner. I love Empire. I love that. I understand and respect A New Hope. It just ain't for me.
Snap. I thought I was the one going controversial this episode.
It just ain't for
Omari,
me.
you just said the most controversial thing you could have possibly. I don't know if there's something more controversial. Oh my God.
I respect it.
Oh my God.
I respect it.
I'm so excited.
I respect it, but I've never. Facts is
No,
facts.
yeah, it's fucking boring. A New Hope is boring.
3 times I've watched it, I fell asleep at 3 different points in my life.
Oh God, that's hilarious. No, I love the New Hope. I love A New Hope, but it is an art film. It is slow. It is not like the other Star Wars films. It is something of to itself. Yeah, I love that. I love that opinion.
Yeah.
And I fully respect your opinion.
It is what it is. But yeah, that is Blade Runner. So next week, I decided we watched a movie a while ago, Battle Royale, Japanese film from when I first went to college. People were showing it to me, so I figured I'd go with another film from back then that my college friends showed to me. The name is a little bit taboo these days, but it's still the name of the movie, so I gotta say it. It is Suicide Club.
I mean, I don't think it's that taboo. DC just has made 2 giant blockbuster films called The Suicide Squad.
I know. I see a lot of people on YouTube censor the word suicide in their titles for things.
Oh, okay.
Or they'll be like
asterisks.
Or like, you know how sometimes the content creators speak, they have different ways of referring to things. They'll like say like unalive yourself, self-termination, so-and-so, just so they don't say the word suicide. So I'm saying the word suicide because it's the name of the movie, but I'm respecting the fact that apparently that's, a harsher word. But you're right.
Fuck
DC,
all those people, they're dead.
You're right. DC... DC does have a movie called Suicide Squad. That's how we'll watch Suicide Club next week. If you want to see other stuff of ours on this channel, go ahead and check it out. You want to see me elsewhere on YouTube, you can see me on the Whatever We Want podcast with new episodes every week, every Wednesday. I do it with a good friend. Yes, sir. Every week, every Wednesday, I do it with a good friend of mine and friend of the show, Super Jazz.
Super Jazz.
Thank you. As nature intended. I also have a Twitter and Twitch at Giotavi. That is GIOTAVI. Come on in. Stop on by. Been playing Street Fighter 6 and I ranked up to platinum with Cammy. Anyway, yeah, Bill, you got anything you want to say to the folks?
Omari thinks A New Hope is boring.
It is what it is. Adios, this